Que lo que mi gente, welcome to the Monoplaza F1 podcast. As always, I'm your host, Emi Betre. And with me now is one of my favorite. I've been meaning to ask you to join Tasha. All right, Tasha's on the show, y'all. I'm super excited. That intro could have been a lot better,
Hey!
but no.
Right. Just gonna land the plane. It's all right. It's all
I,
right.
see, the problem was I got so excited because I was like, "Oh shit, I'm actually recording with Tasha now."
Right. It's been a minute.
Tasha, welcome back to the
Thank
show.
you. Thank you for having me. So nice to
Absolutely.
see you for the first time this season.
Hey,
You
listen,
know?
first of many, because honestly, I'm gonna keep hitting you up. But honestly, I just want to give a special shout out because I just remembered. Thank you for taking time from Met Gala duties to come and
Oh,
record. I,
you're
I
welcome.
see. That's what friends are for.
Listen,
Uh,
see, I'm a real one. I'm a real one. But, actually, because of the time that we're actually recording, the carpet's over. So I got what I needed, and now I'm here. Full attention.
listen,
Listen.
uh, I'm gonna start off by saying, Coleman Domingo, like that
Oh,
suit. Yes,
beautiful.
Idris. I didn't know what he was doing at first because he had the APX, and then they ripped it off of him, and I was like,
Let me tell you something. I was like, y'all are this close for making me uninterested in seeing this movie. Like, I get it. The F1 movie's coming out. I hear you. I feel you. I get it. Can I just have one day where F1
without
is not in my
yes,
line of sight? Like, please. Even like
I
when they were
mean,
interviewing Lewis, like they were asking him stuff like that was like generally about like F1. I'm like, please, the man is here for the fashions. He's here for the fashions, and we don't
he's
want to
like,
talk about Miami. We don't want to talk about
I'm not
Miami.
here for us.
Yeah.
I'm not here for F1. I'm here for the Met. Well,
I
and
ain't
then
trying to talk
also
about my
like
day job. Like,
it was very interesting. It was very, and we can get started on Miami here in a second. It was very
yeah.
interesting that F1's official account was tweeting like our very old our
Oh, now it's our. Okay, okay.
hey, that's hey,
We?
listen,
Y'all speak French? Oh, okay.
listen. But I honestly, I can't really blame F1 because I'd be trying to ride the coattails too, right? In my personal
Listen.
life, I'd be like, hey, man, you remember that time when we did the thing with the no? Anyways, but regardless, I appreciate you coming on. Uh,
Absolutely.
let's talk Miami. We got a lot of things to get through.
Yeah.
For anyone watching this, is actually going to be very therapeutic for me, just because yes, we are going to be talking about Ferrari, so don't worry about that. I will make this disclaimer. Uh, Tasha already knows because we talked ahead of time. If you are an Aston Martin fan or a Sauber fan, for the third race, I've got nothing for you. I am
Click
so
off the
sorry.
video, yeah.
It's nothing, but please leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe. It costs nothing. It's free. I apologize. The only thing you need to know is that don't be mad at me for not talking about those teams. Be mad at Fernando Alonso for not scoring any points in
What is there to
2025.
talk about? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Listen,
what are we actually even going to be able to discuss? I was crying laughing at the end of the Miami sprint. Let me just tell you that much. Like,
I,
Liam came through with that pink Barbie car. And suddenly Alonso, the first points of the season, right in his grasp, and they were
dog.
gone. I was like crying, tears in my eyes,
I was
tears.
pressed. I was pressed because had
Really?
it not been for that, no, because had it not been for that safety car,
Yeah,
yeah, that push was on. Oscar most likely would have overtaken Lando, and Lewis probably would have at least
yeah, of
bare
course,
minimum
yeah,
P2,
yeah.
right?
He was on,
And I
yeah,
was like, did this man really just? But for me, it's also an extension of the Liam Lawson Fernando Alonso beef.
correct, yeah.
I
Their
don't
long
know
history of
what I don't know what Fernando did to Liam. That
this gives the like whole boomer Gen Z generational beef that people have, online, that only exists online,
yes,
and then also
yes,
just between Liam Lawson and Fernando Alonso. Like, that's the
for no
generational
reason.
beef. Yeah.
Uh,
But when he
But
came
it's
through with
cool.
that pink V carb, I was like, bro, did you even try to stop to apply the brakes? Like,
I just so here's the thing for me. Like, I don't know what's going to
oh
happen
god.
faster.
Yeah.
Liam Lawson getting a race ban or Liam Lawson getting kicked off of VCARB. Because I feel like every race he's accumulating points on his license.
Yeah, I think he's at like 6 or something like that.
Hmm.
He's
So
6
that's why
more.
I'm. He listen. He's doing everything. Honestly, I will say I'm not mad at him. I feel like some of the risks he's taking are unnecessary.
Very much so. Especially when you
And
see
yet,
Isaac not having the same issues back there. Like, so
hey,
yeah, it's not necessary.
everybody was clowning on Isaac in Australia, and then Papa Hamilton, Anthony put his arm around his shoulder and said,
Anointed him. He said, "My son, you will be fine."
and
And
after
now
that,
look.
hey, he's also on my fan. He's a staple on my fantasy, by the way.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't want
Wow.
to talk about
So
fantasy. I'm not really having a good time this season. Anyway,
listen,
yeah.
I came from the depths of hell. I started the season ranked 169. I am now 25th out of 200 in my
Hey.
fantasy.
Okay, but that's good though. You're
L-
you're climbing up.
Listen,
Yeah.
once I peeped that McLaren is really about that life,
Exactly.
I locked them down as my team, and then I just do
And
a
the
rotation
constructor.
of
Yeah.
Oscar and Lando. And I
Yeah.
got Oscar locked down for the next 5 races, so
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
good. Grid rival, shouts out. All right. So again, I apologize if you're an Aston Martin fan, if you're a VCAR fan, a Liam Lawson VCAR fan, and a Sauber
Yeah.
fan. Honestly, I said I wasn't going to talk about. We literally just talked about them. That's it.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any more on them. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe. Thank you. So Tasha, quickly,
Hmm.
impressions of the Miami GP
You,
overall,
you know
sprint
what?
to GP.
This weekend, I actually have to give it like a solid like 8. Like, I don't know that everything was like stellar in terms of like the. I was entertained, I guess is what I'm trying to say. From the time they got to Miami
Yes,
to the time that the flag waved, I was just like, this is perfection. The sprint was chaotic,
yes, absolutely.
and like, yes, Lewis was on one once he finally got his tires that he wanted and was able to kind of like fly through the field. I was just like, oh my god, is he gonna win this? Like, he
That's
just,
see,
that's the vibe that he was giving.
that's what I thought
um
too. And then the
yeah,
safety car.
and then the safety car, and then of course, like I said, I was crying laughing because so much was happening. Like, so many people were like fighting and just like doing too much, and it was just a lot going on. I was not expected to be that entertained in like all of 19 laps, so I was like, yeah, you know what, hell yeah.
So, what did prior to the sprint,
Yeah.
Charles Leclerc?
Yeah. Oh.
What what did you? So this is. I'm,
Please.
I'm, I'm gonna preface this by saying I really love Charles Leclerc
Yeah.
as a driver. He seems like a chill person. Seems like somebody you want to know who knows somebody. Like all of that stuff. All right. Yeah.
Right.
Sure. Doesn't help. Like doesn't hurt. He's like obviously he's a good looking dude. He seems pretty
Gorgeous.
chill.
Yeah.
What I do not understand is what happened. First of all, why did Ferrari let that man go out there on those tires? That's my first question. Secondly, like he crashed. I don't the racing.
That was the thing. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. The lead up to Ferrari's weekend started with that fuck ass livery, that special HP livery. Can I just say this? I don't know if this is appropriate to say, but can we please bring back like tobacco brands for
Oh yeah,
the
like the
for the
Marlboro.
sponsors,
Yeah,
because they cooked. They had aura. Yes, okay. Is it great that little kids are smoking cigarettes because they see Lewis Hamilton's car? No.
I
But
mean
we're missing the aura of F1. HP, Hewlett Packard,
the printers,
okay?
baby. Yes,
Hell no.
yes,
Hell no.
love
That car
that.
looked a mess.
They
That car
could.
looked a mess. They
I
had the
want to
nerve
know.
to
No,
be
go
like,
ahead. Go ahead.
hey, send us some special messages for the team. And I'm thinking they're going to print them on the
Put it on the
livery.
car. Yeah, no,
Because we
that's
don't
what I
have
thought
upgrades
too.
for this weekend, so it's not like,
That's
anything
what I
worse could
thought too.
happen. They put on a damn sheet
Listen,
and revealed the ugliest
did
livery I've
you?
ever seen in my life. And that was
It,
the vibe coming into Miami.
so for sure, I also thought that they were gonna print on the actual car.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
That'd be whatever. A couple things I wanted. Well, first, it felt like like growing up when your parents said they were gonna do something, and they
Hmm.
hyped it up, and the way they described it, like they were being very
Right.
vague about it. Like you thought you were finna go to a McDonald's, grab that Happy Meal with the
Right.
Flintstones toy.
Yeah.
Instead, you're at home with a beef patty in between two slices of wheat
Mom's
bread
making
and
burgers.
some
Yeah.
cheese. And when you start complaining, she cuts it out in a circle, so it's at least circular, right? Because otherwise, you got like the edges
Right.
with no
No meat.
That's what I felt.
Grease
That's
dripping
what.
all down the
Yeah,
side.
that's what I felt. And I
Yeah.
knew like the warning signs were there. The fact that they hyped up the race suit prior to, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy's
Bro.
gonna be buns. But
And
that's not.
then
I did not expect that. I knew it was gonna be bad. I just did not expect that.
I was like, what in the Williams? This race suit pissed me
Oh,
off, bro. Imagine you wait your whole life to drive for Ferrari, to be in red at Ferrari, and they got you looking like Carlos Sainz.
blue and white.
Like, this is crazy. This is crazy.
uh, and so
And
then,
we had the weekend we deserved after that.
well, and then, I guess the final question. Somebody's gonna have to tell me what it is exactly that Hewlett Packard has on Ferrari and what they paid Ferrari for them to be that
Yeah.
prominent. And by the way, as both of us come from a design field, you know their identity guide has
They
variations
have
on that
different.
logo,
It has to be
and
that
yet
blue.
it has to be that blue with that white background. And I get their branding and I understand, but
Okay.
like you can't just rock no background, just throw a white logo on there or a blue logo and call it a day.
My thing is, you can't need the money that damn bad. You cannot. Lewis himself has brought in more money. Like, I'm sure
Listen,
that check was not that damn.
I mean, I
I don't
think
care.
they know. You know what? They know where the bodies are hidden. I said what I said.
Yeah.
Yes. So, all right.
Sorry.
Quickly before I forget, Miami for me, this was probably the most exciting Miami GP that I watched
Yes.
since the
Yes.
inception of the Miami GP. Obviously, back in 22 when it
Third
came
time's the
around,
charm.
it was
Hmm.
very Americana corny, if that makes any sense, right?
Yes.
Okay, LL Cool J out
Everybody's in a
there.
football helmet. Yeah.
Yes, it was so weird. I'm glad that they did away with that this year. Amazing, because it's like the world already has a pretty low opinion of us, but like this, no,
Yeah.
it's got to
Yeah.
go. I get it, but it's not. It's not one of my favorite tracks. To be completely
Correct.
honest
Yeah.
with you, like
Agreed.
it doesn't. I don't get it. And every time they do like the overhead look, and it's literally in the Brickell neighborhood, and you can see the, people are mad. It's like, it's blocked off. I can't get anywhere. I can't get into the
Right. Can't get to
stadium.
work.
All
Yeah.
this noise. Anyways, okay. But overall, I think I agree with you. The race itself was actually pretty exciting.
That's fun.
What we're talking about the sprint, and I guess the question that I have for you is this, and I referenced this like in an early episode when we had the sprint in China.
Mm.
Do sprints count? And the reason I'm asking you, listen, the reason I'm asking you if sprints count is
Yeah.
because Andrea Antonelli got that pole for the sprint, and they
Yes.
were quick. And that's not a dig on Kimi because I love Kimi, but
Yeah.
they were quick with the youngest driver ever to get a pole
Hmm.
in any racing
Peep
category. And I
game.
was like,
Yeah.
hey, shouts out.
Yeah.
So then, if that counts as a stat, are we
Right.
counting this sprint win as 106 and that pole as 10?
Well, okay. I don't count it like that. Like, I mean, even when, Oscar first won, people weren't saying like this was his, we were still waiting for his first Grand Prix
Sure.
win. Like, I don't count it like that. Like, especially, I think Lewis in this context of this season, I think the sprint pole, because number one, a pole is a pole. Like, they don't change the distance of the pole lap. So that counts regardless. But, the fact that he was able to put in a fastest pole track record for China, I thought that was really
Mm-hmm.
impressive, especially coming from Australia. And then,
Yep.
of course, obviously the season before where he was struggling to even get into
Yep.
Q3. So the fact that he in the second race still doesn't know the car, he had to ask about the damn wet weather settings. Like the fact that he was able to put in that lap showed a lot of potential for the rest of the season. And then obviously similarly with the sprint win itself, the tire management was there. Like
Yep.
the start was amazing. Like he just has all the elements that everybody has been swearing have just up and evaporated since 2023. So to me, in that instance, yes, and obviously it counts from the perspective of like it's a race sanctioned by Formula One. They get
Obviously, yep.
points for it. You know what I'm saying? It counts. Like I mean, I've seen people really. I literally saw people try to say that. I think it was on Reddit, but they were like, the sprint is more like is a session. Technically, they call it a sprint session. I was like, see, and this is why I don't. This is why I will never get in the weeds with certain people about stuff in F1
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
the
yeah.
goalposts shift that much. If you really are gonna call a race a session, to like fit your narrative that Lewis Hamilton didn't do anything stellar, then you've lost the plot. And when it comes to
Okay.
Kimmy, it is impressive, right? Like I do feel like,
Absolutely.
again, a pole lap is a pole lap, and the fact that he was able to show and produce that after what, five rounds,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's actually an incredible achievement. So I think, like, yes, they count in terms of like, this is this is a performance indicator for these guys that they are capable of doing this. And I don't think it counts in that, like, we're going to add this to the tally, and we're definitely not going to look back in 10 years at Lewis Hamilton's record and be like, yeah, he won 17 sprint races. Like, nobody cares like that. But I think it just shows something that we've been told for a long time isn't there. And with Kimi, I think it shows, his arrival into Formula One. Like, he's definitely somebody that, even though a lot of us felt like, is it too soon? Does he need more time to
Mm,
develop?
mm,
It seems like he's doing a really good job in terms of getting up to speed. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else, you could say about
mm.
that.
All right. Hey, listen, that was definitely a way more gracious answer than me because I was pitchforks out. I was like, oh, so sprint races count? They
Yeah,
count now? No, but I feel that. Okay. And I
it's,
agree. And the thing,
I agree. I agree with you though, because I mean, the media, the way that they spin it for Lewis and they spin it for everybody else, it's like you peep game, you see what they're doing. So yeah,
I will say, probably like
yeah.
my favorite part of that sprint race, aside from all the shenanigans, I know you caught the early call from Russell for team orders.
Bro, in a sprint race, yo, I was like, okay, Russell, all right,
Hey,
George.
I love the consistency. And all right, he's in a contract year. Listen, a win is a win, but this was not a good weekend, unfortunately. Unfortunately, no sarcasm for George Russell. Got out qualified
Mm.
by his teammate. For me, that was a long time coming because you see
Yeah, you
glimpses
could
of
see
it
it.
here or
Hmm.
there, right? And then in the race, obviously, he called his own pit stop, got real lucky with that VSC, and he was
Yeah.
able to jump Kimmy and get that
Hmm.
third place.
Third
And
podium.
then
Yeah.
after that, no one's
Yeah.
taking that from him.
Yeah.
All right. So sprint was good. Lando got one.
Yeah.
Oscar got two. Lewis got three. Fernando got nothing. We move on
Right.
anytime.
We move.
I'm always going to take that anytime. Just self love. The GP itself was
Yeah.
won by young Oscar. I have no emotions. Piastri, listen, I'm going to take it by part. So, how have you been dealing with, not dealing with, that sounds like a terrible
I
thing.
was gonna
You know,
say.
how have you been handling Oscar's dominance? Like, I think last year, you and I talked a lot about how Oscar's got that dog in him. Clearly,
Hmm.
it's showing now.
Hmm.
Oscar just doesn't seem to get frazzled by things. Oscar this, that, and the
Right.
third. And I think at the time, there were certainly other people who were saying, like, well, what has he done really? Right? Like,
Yeah.
race pace, Lando's got him, blah, 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 blah. He's not really a good teammate. I'm not really going to get into that much, but I guess how
Right.
the change from last year to this year, I don't think you're surprised, but how are you feeling
Hell
about
no.
Oscar's quick rise to dominance?
Listen, because it feels good to be right. You know what I mean? Like, it does, because we're newer to F1, or
Yeah.
I'll speak for myself. Like, I'm newer to, so it's like, it's hard to have people like actually listen to your opinion, like, and for us, I feel like the fact that we immediately saw in Oscar that he had like this it factor.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, personality, you know he's more like
Reserved.
present in the moment, yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
reserved. He doesn't fluctuate too high or too low. He just kind of like stays in the middle. And like, obviously when he's like happy with something, he says it, but he never seems like overly ecstatic. And when he needs to improve something, it's never like, I'm the worst F1 driver ever in existence, right? So it's like he kind of stays in the middle. But beyond that, I feel like he's very quickly adapted. So like the
Mm-hmm.
first season where the McLaren was basically, nowhere, it was like one of the slowest cars. You even then could kind of see like, there was something there, but they didn't have the car really to like show it. But you could see like him and Lando were never like too far apart. And
Mm-hmm.
then in the following season, the car started out okay and then got much better. And like, you just kind of see his progression in every track he goes to. is like a new track to him, but somehow he's still right on Lando. And yes, he didn't have as good of tire management. He wasn't as fast over one lap. There was definitely certain things that Lando had the advantage over
Sure.
that now I feel like there's no advantage. Like you're and on top of that, you know, I would say they're pretty evenly matched if anything, but then you have to add on the fact that Oscar is a little bit more like, calm in this moment. And you have the fact that Mark Webber's in his corner, coaching him all the way
Yes.
through. They talked a little bit about, all of the ways that he prepared for the season, getting better at his like areas that he needed to improve in. So, like, all in all, I'm not surprised at all. I'm just like, this is exactly what I had seen
Expected. Yep.
and what I had seen in him. And yeah, expected. So, I'm excited. And for me, what I really was looking forward to in terms of like, okay, yes, I know he can be a winner. We saw, early on in the season, both he and Lando were kind of, trading wins the first part of the season. But I'm just like, the thing with McLaren is, can they replicate it multiple times in a row? Right? Because it's like, it's one thing to win once in a while. But is it something you can actually do consistently? And now we're starting to see consistency with Oscar in terms of leading races. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just okay. I'm a little bit scared because not for Oscar, but for everybody
Oh, I
else
was
because
gonna say, I was
he's
like,
very scary. He's very very scary opponent. Yeah.
I think that so all of that. The one thing I guess that I would add to that is I've said this a lot. So Oscar to me reminds me the mentality, the mindset right now. People are
Hmm.
quick to say like, "Oh yeah, Kimi Räikkönen and all." That.
Right.
To be completely honest with you, yes, I am newer to F1, just like you.
Hmm.
And so all the races for Kimi, I caught like the tail end of Kimi's career, right? And
Same. Yeah.
all the times where he was like dominant, I've just had to like watch those races back. And everyone is like, not everyone, but a lot of people make that comparison. To
Right.
me, the comparison that I make more often than not is that Oscar reminds me of Kobe Bryant. And
Yes.
what I mean by that, right? And I think you know where I'm going is that like there was a series I mentioned this when I was on with my brother. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, where it was like Oscar doesn't seem excited, but frankly, what is he excited about? He's
Job's not done.
yeah.
Exactly.
See, I don't get. I'm so
Yeah. Well, as soon as you said it,
listen.
I was like, yeah, absolutely. He seems the type to be playing, making free throws in a dark gym just because like he wants to get the practice in. Like that's the difference. You see it. Yeah.
Tasha,
Listen, I love
nothing more
Kobe.
needs to be said. All
I
right,
love
if you
Kobe.
don't know who
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant is, I feel bad for you. But yes,
Yeah.
that to me is the mentality, and that's why
Yeah.
like I can relate to that because like for me, like when I look at Raikkonen's radio highlights, so that's the only thing I like. He's curt, he's short, he's yelling at people, he's like
Yeah.
basically calling them like idiots, blah blah blah. Oscar is kind of sarcastic. Oscar's just focused on this is what I got to do.
Yeah.
Oscar says stuff like, "Wow, that's the driving of a world champion," like
Right.
that, and I'm like, I see what you did there. And so I think all the training and everything has led up to this moment, and I think
Yeah.
I don't know if we've hit this yet because we're 6 races in. Obviously, I think if he keeps this up, it's obvious that McLaren's going to have to make an obvious decision who they're going to
Hmm.
favor. I just feel like that inflection point is coming a lot sooner. And
Yeah.
suddenly, and not even suddenly, I think we very quickly saw that Zach Brown paying all that money to Alpine and all the fines and all the worth it, worth
Every
it.
penny. Every single penny.
And so, like, I guess my
Mm.
question to you is like, what's the inflection point where you think McLaren is going to be like, is it like two more wins? Is it like the next race? Is it like where there's just like, yep, it's Oscar. We gotta put all our
I mean, I think surely like around summer break, whether just before or just after, like I think that has to because there's not. I mean, yes, obviously mathematically, as long as it's like a McLaren 1, 2, or double podium,
it
whatever,
can
I think
go.
he
Yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah.
You can go either way, but I think as we keep saying, I think it goes down to like which one of them seems like ready for the moment. And as much as I said, Lando is fast over one lap, he has improved areas of his racecraft, but there's a lot of areas where he has not. Like we saw early in the season, his battles with Charles Leclerc, with George Russell. Like he's just still not fully there. Like he freaks out, or he just gets overly like I don't know anxious or something when he's behind and he has to kind of like catch up.
Make moves, yeah.
So makes mistakes, but then you see stuff like I don't remember which person he overtook this last race in Miami, where it was just like very decisive, like just shoot right around him. I can't remember who it was. It was like, was it Max? Maybe not. I don't know.
No,
But you know,
definitely wasn't Max. All right, unless you're talking about
no,
Oscar.
maybe I don't
But
know.
he
But
did have.
there
I
was
get
a
you.
decisive overtake that he made in this past race. Sorry, I don't remember it. But I guess it's like it's so off and on. It's like so you don't know which Lando Norris you're gonna get, like the confident one or the guy who is, not sure of himself still. So I think the problem with Oscar, that he is so calm and so focused and so like just ready, is that's the type of opponent that shakes somebody like
Mm-hmm.
a Lando Norris, because like you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's his weakness, because
Because
even
it's
when he
not.
has an off day, he's not going to beat himself up the way that you're beating yourself up about it. He's just going to get up the next day and try it again and do it
Case in
better.
point,
Yeah.
Australia. And here's the thing, like the thing that's been it hasn't been hard to watch, but
Hmm.
definitely like a testament to the McLaren car and Oscar's talent is the two nasty overtakes he's done on Lewis.
Lewis.
I just like,
Yo, I love
you
those
know what
overtakes.
it's like, what it's like you're with your friends, is your homie, is the one, like, they
Yeah.
got your back, like chiropractics, all of that, and they're in a fight with somebody and the other person makes a point and you're like,
Right.
internally you're like, dang.
No, I loved it.
And, right, and so that's how I
Yeah.
feel about like Lewis. Like first it was that pass, I think it was like Saudi or not, in Australia in the rain. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, he did it in a point where it made no sense to do it and it
Yeah.
succeeded. Then in Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Arabia one was, I was like,
That was the one for me because his engineer told him get around Lewis as quickly as possible. And Oscar was like herd chef and basically just
gone,
got the hell around him. And I was
gone.
like, that is what I like to see. I mean, obviously, yes, Lewis wasn't gonna like fight him that much to like defend that, but at the same time, I'm just like the fact that he in that moment was told something, immediately responded, immediately did it,
Executed,
and
yeah.
got the hell down the road. I'm like that, and then you go to this race. Which race was it? Orlando had to be coached to get around Lewis. Oh,
Literally
Jeddah.
the
Yeah, same
same,
race.
the
Yeah, yeah.
I, mm,
So, that's what I'm
so that's
saying. I'm like, I think the decisions for the McLaren is actually made. They're going to make it harder on themselves. They don't just like say the thing that everybody else is already seeing. You know what I'm saying?
so suffice to say that, like,
Yeah.
summing up Oscar again, congratulations to him,
Yeah.
but we both agree that he had a pretty great race. By the way, you saw thing with the basketball references. You saw he broke Max's ankles in that car.
Yeah.
He
I was,
said, "Oh,
he
I'm
said,
going
oh,
this way." Where you going? that,
right.
that was, oh man, that was the most F1 basketball, like,
Reference
Max
ever.
is over
Yeah.
there, the stratosphere, Oscars. I was like,
Bro,
I'm,
and then it's like he's what, 8 seconds or like how many seconds was he up the road? Like 8 seconds or some stuff.
yes,
He
he
was
was
not playing
gone.
around. He
He
was not
was
playing
gone.
around. That's what I
I
like to
was like,
see. He was not sticking around to see if they could come back and fight him. He wasn't
he
even gonna give
broke,
him the chance.
he broke that man's ankle. I said, "Adios,
Gotta go. Yeah.
see you." And then, oh man. So yeah, Oscar had a great race. Obviously, he ended up winning,
Hmm.
I think, driver of the day.
Yeah.
Can't
Deserved.
complain about that one.
Yeah.
On the other side of the garage, and I already said this to you, and I'm gonna say it again on air now. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time talking about Lando Norris because what needs to be said has already been
Right.
said. Right. There was a point in the race where Lando was trying to get past Max. He obviously eventually ended up passing Max, but Max,
Hmm.
um, I'll have to take a look at whether or not what Max was doing was quote unquote like dirty or whatever. But I think to your
Right.
point that you were saying earlier, like Lando seems to be someone who like gets shaken up. Okay, I know I gotta do
Very
this. I know I
easily.
gotta do
Yeah.
this. I know I gotta do this. And like me personally, I'm kind of like that, right? So I
Yeah.
kind of understand it.
You recognize it. Yeah.
But at some point, Lando ended up like inadvertently like flipping Max off because he was like upset. And I guess, like I said to you earlier, the only thing that I really have to say to that is like you're mad at the wrong person
Yeah.
right now. Like, yes, Max is gonna Max. He's gonna drive how he's gonna drive.
Yeah.
that's been a successful formula for him. And so I'm not sure what you were expecting, but now I'm looking at it like, Lando,
Yeah.
bro, just I I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
the point of this and what I'm asking you is like, do you feel like he has gotten to a point where he keeps digging himself into this hole that he's not going to get out of, right? Because I think right now we're headed into the European leg.
Mhm.
He should, by all accounts, do really well there.
Yeah.
Tracks that he's super familiar with. I fully expect him to get on pole and win some races in Europe. That's
Right.
not a profound statement, right?
Right.
But I guess like, do you feel like not a point of no return, like mentally he keeps just like doing
Hmm.
these things, and I'm just like, what are we doing
Yeah, I think
now?
he just has to find some way to get out of the like endless cycle of like just negative self-talk. Like I always say, I'm like, yo, you need somebody on your team who hypes you up. And I'm not like not even just like to be saying it, but like you need somebody who kind of speaks life into you because you do such a great job at making yourself seem like you're not shit. Like, yes, it's hard to be a Formula One driver. It's hard to do your job. It does not help, and this is partly why he gets dunked on a lot. It doesn't help that in the past you made it seem like, well, fast car equals race wins. Um, it's not that easy, you know. So you got to kind of humble yourself in that aspect. But a lot of the lessons that he's relearning and learning over again are ones that he just refuses to kind of like teach himself. Like the fact that Oscar has started alongside Max twice now and has not let him punk him
No
once,
issues.
to the point now Max doesn't even try it with him because he already knows what the deal is. Because Oscar will be like, we can both go out. I don't have a problem with that. Where Lando is like so scared. I don't know if this is like again. I don't know. You know how deeply to read into this, but it's just like it just feels like because they're friends off the track, he thinks that if he takes it to Max on track, that they won't still be friends. And I'm like, well, then that's not your friend. Like if you can't trade jabs, because like let me tell you
Yeah.
something. When back in the day, I did Muay Thai training, and for our gym, we would go and actually record the fights. So and that was a freaking dope experience because you're like courtside, ringside, or whatever recording everything. This is the first time I ever saw somebody get knocked out
Oh,
cold up close. But the thing with Muay Thai is like it's a very aggressive sport. You knocking people upside their head with your elbows and your knees, and it's like the thing is when the bell rings at the end, everybody hugs each other, everybody shows respect for each other, and that's what it is. Like no one takes it hard that they got their ass beat in a ring. It just wasn't your day. So like I guess when I think about Max and Lando, I think that there's not really a deep level of respect there
no,
as
no,
competitors or as friends because
no.
if you can't give him what he gives you on the track and still be able to shake hands afterward and still be cool afterward, then that's not your friend, which is even more incentive to be giving him what he gives you. But he just I don't think he sees it like that. So I think that's a lesson that he's going to have to keep relearning until he it finally clicks because Oscar's already done that,
I think. Well,
you know?
yeah, and I agree. And this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I think I understand the mentality a little bit, right? Because I think
Yeah.
everybody wants to be liked at a certain point. But you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. Like, if you can't go back and forth, there's not anything. It's not supposed to be anything dirty when you're racing, right? But
Right.
usually in a competitive one, you should understand when, yeah, it was my fault. This was messed up, or oh man, that was a great move. I hate that you pulled it
Yeah.
off, but like whatever, blah blah blah. So like you're right, and I also feel like when I look at these drivers and I look at the ones who have been champions, I
Mm.
have not seen a lot of them make friends with people on the paddock while they are the
Right.
champions, right?
Yeah.
People forget Seb Vettel, they hated that guy when he was dominant, right? Shouts out Mark Webber. Lewis Hamilton, they continue to hate him even though he's not
Yeah.
in a winning car. But like same thing, Max Verstappen, I think, is also slowly on that route. I
Yeah.
think with Lando, I'm not sure if he's expecting like Britt Sadie's type situation or
Right.
whatever it was, Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton. But the thing is that like at least during that time, Nico was good. He wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily better than Lewis. Obviously, he won a championship. Great, awesome. But like
Yeah.
I still don't know if Max rates him. I guess to your point, right? Like I don't
No,
know
he
if there's
doesn't.
like a mutual respect. I don't think Max is sitting there like, oh no, I'm starting alongside Lando Norris.
No.
Like okay,
Because
anyway, so
he,
I got to
yeah,
figure out what I'm gonna do once I pass him.
exactly, exactly. It's just like there's no respect there, and Max doesn't have to respect him because he knows that he owns him essentially. Like just even like their battle in Miami, it's just like it was messy. It was so messy. And Max was so wrong for some of that stuff. And Lando was wrong for some of that stuff. It's like they both they want to hit each other so bad in those cars. Just get it
I
over with. Rip the
because
band-aid off. It's fine.
I kept
It's
wanting
fine.
to, but I don't know what I think the other thing too is that like people are still they're still holding Lando to that. I think if he had not opened his mouth to say, of course you're supposed to do that because you have the fastest car,
Mm-hmm.
or said whenever Lewis was talking last year, like, man, that car is fast, and he was like,
Right.
well, you guys had the fastest car for
Seven
X amount of
years.
years, and
Yeah.
now it's our turn. And Lewis just like, remember when we did that? We did that episode, and like Lewis just for like
Mm-hmm.
a split second was
He
like,
was
oh,
like, okay.
hey, you got a little
he had
too
to
much
he
dip
had
on your
to
chip, partner.
he
Like,
had to,
bring it.
he had to pull it back in for a second.
Okay, I was trying to tell you your car was fast, and Oscar was
Damn.
like, the last thing I guess you'll see. So if you go back and you watch the clip of the post race interview, which time out to say, why do they keep doing weird things at American tracks? Why you couldn't get people to a podium and do the interview like right there, right there? No, we got to do it in a car that's got some sofas or some love seats, and
It's
it's
weird.
like, this is corny. So at one point, Lando's talking about essentially, I'm paraphrasing it, like kind of offhandedly, like blaming Max for like why his race was so bad, and
Right.
peep Oscar and what Oscar is doing whenever he makes that. Oscar looked over at Max like, what's this guy talking about right now? I was like, Oscar? Oscar's not even trying to, okay.
Oscar was like, is that really how it happened? Okay. Okay.
And, and so, like, I think for me, the one thing that I don't necessarily, and I'm just going to turn the page, obviously, is that
Yeah.
with Lando, and to an extent, the same thing can be applied for Lewis.
Hmm.
I think he puts himself out there emotionally too much, like that raw
Yes.
emotion.
Agreed.
Again, you and I have talked about like you keep saying stuff enough times, eventually I'm gonna believe you, big dog.
I'm agree.
Same thing
Yeah.
for me. Sometimes I feel like Lewis also lets people in too much into like what he's really feeling, right? In
Right.
terms of like the vulnerable moments, right?
Hmm.
Me personally, I would like to see less of that, but for two very different reasons. For Orlando, I'd like to see less of the vulnerability because it's like same thing you've been saying and I've been saying. We get it. Yes, you're upset. We're done. But for Lewis, what I feel like, man, this is just something that people are going to use against you. Like I appreciate that
Yeah.
you're being this honest and you're being this open, but I just kind of like I don't know why I feel like I need to be defensive of that because I don't know personally. I don't know Lewis personally, right? But it's also
Yeah.
like these people don't deserve your vulnerability. Like, does that? I don't know if that like makes any sense at all. Like,
Yeah. It's. I mean, I feel and have felt similarly, even about Lando. I'm like, I think at this point, you're being too open to the point where people are using it like against you. Like, there is a context and a time and place to talk about athletes' mentality as it
mm,
pertains to their performances. But sometimes what Lando starts to do is like so self deprecating that it becomes a little bit like concerning. Like, I'm actually starting to become concerned for your well-being because I don't really ever hear this many an athlete talk this badly about themselves.
yeah,
Like, right, like we've seen people be disappointed in themselves before, but this like is a different level. And like even after Miami, like the lady's trying to ask him questions and he's just like cutting her off and being short, and like you can tell he doesn't want to be there. And I'm like, I think in times like that, I think, take a few minutes to yourself if
take
you
a
can.
beat.
I do
Yeah,
know that they get pushed, but I'm like, you're the driver. If you need like 2 minutes to like go
just take a beat,
breathe,
dog. Yeah,
then you go do that first. Because the thing is, everybody has to do their job. So when you're being short with a reporter, people are looking at him like, what's your problem? You know what I mean? Like, it does give
yeah,
them some sort of ammunition and some sort of like insight into like your mental state. um but it's like I do agree to some extent with Lando where he says like, he does believe that he should be able to be vulnerable and be himself. And
mm-hmm.
I'm like, I do agree with that. Same thing with Lewis. Like, I do think being vulnerable in a sport like this is can be an asset, but like with Lewis, for example, where he's self-deprecating and he can be really self-deprecating, he turns it around. So like Jeddah, horrific weekend, right?
Yep,
Miami, completely different. Completely different.
yep.
So it's that type of thing. We don't really get that with Lando, where it's like he beats himself up and then he still continues
To beat himself up.
spiraling a little bit. And
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
he had a
yeah,
great
yeah, yeah.
recovery in this race, but it's like I think the expectation is that he shouldn't be recovering from anything. That car clearly is a freaking rocket,
I
right? So,
mean, yeah, it's
it's yeah. And then I don't know, sometimes I feel like his vulnerability becomes a little disingenuous, right? So when he's like, our car is so bad, and Max, if he thinks our car is so
thank you,
great, he should come drive it. And then Oscar's
thank
like,
you.
our car's fast.
Our
So
car is good.
yeah, I can't even
I don't
lie.
know,
So I'm like, sometimes I'm like, are you being vulnerable, or are you just being like salty?
disingenuous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. E- And so once again, it's
And
another
so
week. No, I'm saying like I'm
I love
saying like
that.
it's another
Yeah,
weekend where the trials and tribulation of Lando. And I
yeah,
again, like I'm wrapping up this Lando talk only to say that like I genuinely don't wish ill will on him
yeah.
at all.
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody does. I
No.
just kind of feel like either fix it or scale back the vulnerability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I never thought about it until you said it. Like the more he does this, the less genuine it feels. So now it is just feeling like, guys, don't be too upset with me. I'm only gonna end that by saying like it's another race where he starts in front
Yeah,
and gets passed.
yeah.
And he lost a couple positions.
No.
Do with that what you will. All
See,
right.
exactly. Yeah.
Greener pastures. Going back to before, see, I'm avoiding all of the Ferrari stuff, by the way, because
Oh man.
I need to be in a better headspace. I'm still
Oh.
real quick. Kimi Antonelli, you are happy with his performance overall? You feel like
Yeah.
definitely should be in I don't think you were never one of the people who was critical about like, oh, this
No.
kid's too young to blah 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 blah.
I think I was critical of Toto because I just felt like it felt like he was rushing it for the sake of
Sure.
having something shiny and new in a seat that Lewis is vacating. Like I did feel like, okay, you're pulling this kid out of, the lower series where not just like he could develop, but like get to know all the other people his age. Like it just
Hmm.
feels weird to have like a teenager
He is a
in
child. He is
Formula
still
One.
in
He's
school.
talking about I'm still doing my homework. You know what I mean? So,
Couldn't
um,
be me. There's
but
first of all, hold on. No, time out. Could you imagine? Could you imagine having
right?
to go back to school? And
No.
In Italy, he is missing school days because in Italy it's Monday through Saturday.
What?
Yes, Monday
Damn.
because their school days are shorter, right? So in Italy,
Okay. So
you're
they have
looking
more
at
of
eight,
them.
yeah, like an 8:30 to 1:30 school day. And
Wow.
you have some schools that like
Kind of
do
nice.
5-day weeks, but for the most part, like whatever. He's gearing up to take the maturita or whatever it's called. But
Mm.
like dropping out of school would have had to have been an option for me because like there's no way like I'm not trying to be in trigonometry when I gotta think about like, oh, I gotta
Yo,
get to the same, like, no, there's
and they're up all hours of the day and night
yeah,
doing meetings, doing press stuff,
yeah.
promo. You're flying like you don't ever have a minute to like sit down and do your homework.
Now I gotta go back to raggedy ass school and like pretend like I care
Yeah.
about this when my future is basically
Hell,
assured. Like,
I'm about to be rich after this. Like I don't need none of y'all. Like you
and
see how many
and
people who don't have educations make it in life? Like why? You know what I'm saying? Like why do I got to be different? Stay
and
in school,
so like,
Kimmy. Stay in school.
or don't, no, leave, just leave school. All right, it's a waste. That's right,
Who
kids.
needs it? Yeah, smoke
If
and
you
leave school.
become if you become rich and famous, you can just drop out of school. All right,
Right,
all the life. Find yourself a trustworthy account. No, that's terrible life advice.
right.
Okay. No, I think I agree with you. I don't know if it was like too quickly. This segues into, um, first of all, I'm he's probably my second favorite rookie right after Isaac Hadjar. But like
Yeah.
Kimi Antonelli, I'm not gonna lie to you, Tasha. Kimi Antonelli is probably why I'm still keeping up with Mercedes. I'm
You're
just
keeping up with
being like,
Mercedes? Wow.
yeah, see,
Good
but
for you.
not like, yes, I'm one of the cowards who didn't unfollow the Mercedes account.
I said blocked. You're done. You're done.
Oh no. Hey, if you can't, what Tasha's basically saying is we listen and we judge. But
Yeah, hell yeah. When somebody shows you who
I
they are, believe them the first time, okay?
I'm just so I take it you didn't watch the Netflix documentary The Seat.
See, I have. Let me not get into that because no, I did not, and I will not. I will not be watching that because that's crazy. That's
I
crazy
can't
work.
believe he got his own documentary. Six. I'm gonna watch it though, because like I said, I like Kimi Antonelli.
All
Hey, I'm
right,
not. Hey,
all right. You
first of
report
all,
back. Report back. Let me hear. Let me hear how it goes.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's a PR move. It's still trying to milk
Absolutely,
this. Like Lewis Hamilton was on my team, but I can't make money off of him anymore. I
and
see
that's
it
what I
for
don't
what it
like,
is.
and that's the shit
I
I don't
see it
like.
for what it is. That's fine. I do feel like I don't disagree in that it may have been too early. Obviously, he's a quick study, so
Mm-hmm.
he's
Yes,
doing well in a sink or swim environment. He is swimming right, and he's not just treading water; he's front
he's doing a good
crawling it
job.
up, right?
Yes,
Um, I think the set of circumstances, right? I think the respect he has for Lewis, the fact that Lewis was like, yeah, bring him in, because at that point, obviously, like last season, Lewis already knew he was gone, and even before the season
right.
started, Lewis already he saw the writing on the wall. Okay, these guys are trying to show me the exit. Let me take care of this before they take care of me, and I end
Right.
up in a Sauber or an Audi for some unknown reason,
And that's
right?
if there
In
was even a seat at them
the
teams.
depths of hell, right? And so it I don't know. I'm happy to see Kimmy. I'm enjoying personally. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying the success he seems to have found on that team only
Yeah.
because I know what's coming.
So listen, this is what I'm saying though about Mercedes because I'm just like, see, George, and I think I said this last season at some point, but I'm like, I hope George peeps what's going on because
He's got to.
you
There's not enough
must.
sleepovers in the world
You
that
must,
can
sir.
save
Yeah.
him from.
Yes. Like, because, you're the quote unquote future of Mercedes. You're the quote unquote leader of the team. Now, why that baby got a documentary before you did? You know what I'm saying? Why you still don't got why your contract not extended, but Oscar's been extended?
I
Charles is
understand,
never
but
leaving
hey,
Ferrari. Lando's never leaving McLaren. Like, but you're the only driver who's the future of a team, touted as such, and your team is not very confident in you. So I'm like, George, if it
I'm
was
not
me,
saying, but I'm saying polish that resume.
listen, because no matter what happens, I mean, obviously Kimmy's doing a lot better, I think, than anybody expected this early on. Like I was expecting it to click at some point, but it's just the fact that he's pretty much been on it
So
since Australia, right? Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It just feels like he's kind of just plugged in and ready to go. And I mean, obviously part of that is because he had a lot of extensive, testing,
thousand was it
but
1,000 miles or laps or whatever it was
yeah,
on there.
which I think is needed obviously because I'm just like, look at what happens when people get 20 minutes in a car and then they got to start the season. Like that's crazy. So we do need to find a way to get more testing for everybody. But
Shouts
anyway,
out Jack Doohan.
yeah, right. But I don't know, I just feel as though he has been able to just very quickly come in. Like he does have moments. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a few moments in a few races where I'm like, girl, good thing you saved that because wow. um but I think like no matter what kind of season he had, his seat was never in jeopardy because he doesn't technically have a contract either past
No,
2025. Like they haven't
no.
renewed it yet, but there's no way they're.
Yeah. Now
Yeah,
with the documentary and everything, yeah, he's
they've already invested so
too
much into him. Yeah,
publicly in deep. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So is it that, man, I don't know how to say this like eloquently, so you might have to help me out with this. Is it that Kimmy is doing really well and we're holding
Hmm.
him to a different standard, as we should, because he's a rookie, right? Because I feel like everything, like the underlying thing is for a rookie, he is
Yeah,
doing really
absolutely.
well. No one ever says for a rookie, he's doing really well, but I feel like that's the underlying thing versus
Right.
like George, where it's like, let's be honest, he's not having a terrible year. He's
Mm-mm.
consistently gotten the what
Podiums,
third most
points. Yeah.
podiums after Oscar and Lando, right?
Hmm.
He's one McLaren disaster, a couple of those from
Right.
a sneaky like right,
Yeah.
and he should be held to a higher standard, rightfully so, right?
Hmm.
But I'm trying to figure out, and this is why I'm saying like I don't know how to eloquently say this. Which one carries more weight? The fact that a rookie is performing super well, or the fact that like the veteran on the team is having a sneakily consistent good year, but still his
Yeah.
seat undoubtedly still in peril.
I mean, I definitely think the rookie coming in and having a roughly similar season to, because George and him are not that far off in points
No, they're not.
in the driver
Mm,
championship. So I mean, they're both consistently hauling points. They're both consistently pretty up there when it comes to quality as well. I mean, obviously, give or take a couple of positions for Kimmy, but I think Kimmy's holding his own. I do think, like I said, the fact that it's happened from the jump,
mm,
not that not that Russell's had, like, a stretch of 6 or 7 races where Kimmy's like qualifying in P20 or whatever. Like, Kimmy's been up there in the top 10 with him basically this
near him.
entire
Yeah, yeah.
season. So I do think that that holds a lot more weight because everybody can kind of like breathe a sigh of relief that the experiment is
It's panning
seemingly
out.
working
Yeah,
out so far. I think with George, we talked about this before the show, but like, not to take anything away from him because he is being very consistent. But a lot of the same issues that he was having when Lewis was on the team are still there. Like, I and also I do think with the car as well. Like, as much as the car looks
sure.
more drivable, I think the trade-off was the pace because it doesn't quite have the same pace as like the McLaren. Yes, it can battle with like the Red Bull, but like pretty much just one lap pace. And that's good enough in this season so far because it seems like
Mm,
where you qualify is roughly about where you finish, right?
more or
So
less. Yeah, 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 yeah.
it definitely does have its merit that they got the quality pace finally, like, I think, in the bag, but it's like they still lose a lot of pace in the race, whether it's tire
Race
degradation or
pace. Yeah.
whatever. The car is falling apart in Bahrain, like stuff like that, like, it's still persisting. But I feel like George is still not quite where like, he's a consistent talent, but Toto's not looking for he's not looking for okay. He's looking for Max. He's looking for Kimmy. He wants to be excited. He wants his team to come out and have the full package. I don't feel like George still is the full package. He's improved, but he's not Max. He's not Kimmy even in this instance. When, like, if this is Kimmy in 6 rounds, like, where are we going to be a year from now? You know what I mean?
And
So I think it does not help George's case that he should stay when more exciting prospects are, swirling around. So, yeah.
I, I will say, I actually don't. And again, what I'm going to say next is not like super profound, and it's not even an original thought. So I'm just preface. See, I'm just building up that
You're like,
preface.
caveat, caveat, caveat.
I think, I think Mercedes would be better served if they passed on Max Verstappen.
Mm,
Not because I think Max is like, no. If you say
right,
Max is terrible, then you're just blinded by your hate. Like, I may not personally care for him as a driver, but
right.
to say that he sucks, like, okay, dog, you hate him. I get it. Awesome.
Right.
But why would you bring a Max Verstappen to a Mercedes when you have a talent that is like still developing, unless you're just like in a win now mentality, right? So for me, like, I would actually keep George around because I feel like Kimmy's trajectory is quickly going to
Mm-hmm.
surpass George, right? And whether or not this is a diss or not, I don't know. George could potentially. Oh man, I know I'm gonna get blazed if anybody ever watches. He could potentially be the next Valtteri, if that makes any kind of
Yeah,
sense at all.
right.
Right? Like someone who is good, someone who can win
It's
races, someone who can
consistent.
get your
Right,
occasional pulls, consistent, but you're exciting, upside, risky, talented driver is your
right.
main driver, right? Like, because you still want to win the constructors, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
want like a Max Verstappen, Checo Perez, the soon to be supposedly Cadillac driver,
Yeah.
right? And so like that's why I'm just kind of like, Mercedes is out there trying to get Max, but should they really be trying to get Max?
I mean, I
Just
think,
lock George down and just let Kimmy
yeah,
develop.
I
Like
think,
that to me would be a better.
but that's what I said. Like, I think the thing with Mercedes is that they don't know what they want. And I do think a lot of it
Right.
has to lie with Toto and his ego, which is, again, where my whole
Yeah.
apprehension with Kimmy lied because I was just like, is he doing this for himself to prove a
Right. Right. Right.
point? And I feel like it's the same thing with getting Max because he felt like he missed out on getting Max when he was a young up and coming driver.
Mhm.
I just feel like he needs to have it for his collection. Like, is it really what's going to be best for the team? I mean, like, looking at Max and all that comes with having a Max Verstappen, including his father, um, management, all those
Oh,
characters in the
Joss.
background. a team like Mercedes, which has like that whole no blame culture and like, they try to be very harmonious and family like is Max going to be a cultural fit on that team? And what's it going to look like when you have a Max Verstappen who comes in and starts to, dominate over every aspect of the team? So I think in the long run, I do think in the long run, like I wouldn't choose Max if I were Mercedes, but I just feel like part of it is just that Toto Wolff, I think,
Yeah,
he needs to see his grand master plan play out. You know
I
what I mean?
yeah, I feel that. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly add anything more to that. To be completely honest with you, no. Like I'm
Right.
serious. Like what you're right. Like I think for me, I just try to see past him and focus on
Yeah.
like when the unfortunate day comes when Lewis Hamilton retires from the sport. Who am I
Right.
going to be like cheering on
Watching.
like
Yeah.
full fledged? Right. Um. Okay.
Yeah. Uh oh.
Finally.
Is it time?
Yeah. Let me preface this by saying where Ferrari qualified and where they ended up in the race is exactly where they should be.
Yeah.
I was not barring something crazy. I was not expecting Ferrari to crack top 5
No.
at at all,
No.
right? They qualified super low. Lewis spent I don't know how many laps going after Esteban
20
Ocon
something.
before he finally passed him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Finally did that, got a great pit stop. Then he got mediums, and the team just kind of fumbled like the team
Yeah.
orders to get them to switch. And by the time Charles's tires came into the right window, Lewis's tires are falling off. Blah 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 blah. You know this.
Yep.
Were you were you super frustrated with Ferrari, or are you starting to see? This is me saying stuff. A light at the end of the tunnel, right? They didn't bring any upgrades, so I
Mm-hmm.
know that you. I can't. You skeet? Nope. You put it on Blue Sky.
I just say post. I just say post. She posted
you
on Blue Sky.
you posted on Blue Sky
Skeeting on Blue
because
Sky is crazy, especially if people
crazy
who are not
work.
on Blue Sky have no idea what we're talking
It's crazy
about.
work for me to say that.
Oh,
If
skeet, skeet, skeet.
2003 me ever heard me say that to a grown woman on air,
On a
uh,
podcast, like that's crazy.
so,
Yeah,
jeez,
yeah. She posted on Blue Sky.
you
Yes.
posted that you knew that they weren't bringing any upgrades,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm paraphrasing. Essentially, you were like, "But this is what, man, I gotta pull it up."
I
You,
said, but holy fuck, like, do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? It's
mm,
the fact that like after Jeddah, which was a very disappointing weekend, I feel like, um, I didn't have any expectations for Miami, and knowing, Fred
same.
even mentioned, there's no point in bringing upgrades here because it's a
It's
sprint
not a good
weekend.
track.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, whatever. We're not gonna. It's whatever. It's whatever. Lewis actually had a really decent sprint race, but he had to make that call to get those tires,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, you had the unfortunate situation with Charles hydroplaning into the wall, so he couldn't start the sprint. So
Oh,
whatever.
stuff happens. Yep.
Right. And then you get into quali, and it's the fact that both Ferraris are struggling. Like the reason that Charles was able to get into Q3 was because of a tow that he got. But pretty much the two Ferraris were about to both be out in Q2. So, and looking at Lewis just like separate from the team situation, I'm like, oh, he actually did a lot better. He was
Yeah.
like under a tenth off of Leclerc. So I'm just like, that's much better because last week it was 6 tenths off. So I'm like, for Lewis, I feel like the weekend is decent. It's fine, and I'm not really expecting much. I was expecting him to make up positions from P12. So I feel like this is all par for the course. And then we get to the race, and I'm like, okay, hold on. Why am I so pissed off after this race? And I think it just came down to the fact that, as you said, P7, P8 was pretty much the expectation.
I was
Why
not
was it
shocked.
like pulling teeth to get those results? Why did it feel like we were going through some torture training to get the results that we were going to leave there with anyway? Like taking our sweet time to make decisions when you already have a slow car, not capable of winning, not even capable of, like you said, top 5. Why are we twiddling our thumbs here?
I
Make a decision. So that
I
pissed me off, to be quite honest. I was just like, this is crazy. This is nuts.
I was I was I was frustrated only because
Yeah.
like, and I don't know if it's carryover from last year where they finished second in the Constructors Cup. And I'm not
Yeah.
even going to get into like they started the 99% of the car was revamped, right?
Right.
Whatever. I read somewhere, I don't have the source, so this is completely pure conjecture on my end that
Hmm.
essentially Ferrari couldn't figure out how to make that car from 2024
Mm.
any better or improve more. So
Yeah, they
they
hit the
abandoned
ceiling.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Cool. Fine. Whatever. I think you articulated this like super well. Why it was frustrating because we just got done saying that it took him 20 laps to get past Esteban. I don't
A
know
customer
how
team,
many
bro.
laps he was like 6 tenths behind Ocon or 4 tenths or 3 tenths. And I'm
Yeah,
like, all
right
right,
in his
surely he's
DRS.
gonna
Yeah.
get this like move done, right? And at a point where Esteban didn't even have DRS to help him, right? And I was just
Right.
like, we
He had
shouldn't be
no
fighting with
DRS.
Haas. Now, granted, Haas, jeez, Haas also has a Ferrari engine,
Yes, sir.
so
Yeah.
on engine power alone, they quote unquote should be equal,
Yeah.
right? And I think probably for me the highlight with Ferrari, I'm not even like the sprint, sure, whatever.
Hmm.
The highlight for me for Ferrari was Lewis. I think is finally comfortable enough to go after the team,
Yeah.
essentially, right?
Hmm.
Um, which we saw. The radio I didn't think was anything extra. I didn't think it was spicy. I
I
didn't
was
think. I
cackling.
think. I think he was just telling it like it is.
Yeah.
Um, Again, it's interesting the double standard that we're about to see for the next 2 weeks. I don't know how many articles Planet F1 is going to put on about like
Mm.
Lewis Hamilton's rude radio with his like, is it rude or y'all just need those clicks? Anyways, and
Yeah.
so like for me, it was a situation where Lewis, I think he put it in his own words, still has that fire, that desire to keep doing better. He knows the team
Right.
can do better than what they currently are.
Yeah.
Charles is saying the same thing.
Exact same thing.
Charles is saying the same thing, but the focus is Lewis Hamilton is ragging on this team. They
Yeah.
should have kept Carlo. And I'm just like, are you not? Are y'all not? Charles
You're
is
not
saying the same
tired.
thing.
Yeah. You're not exhausted. Charles was ragging on the team on the team radio from in Australia. You know what I mean? Like that's I mean because like honestly that's the thing for me with Ferrari. It's the car. Yes, okay. I think we all just have to accept that this is where we're at with the car. This is the reality. Is that it's slow. It's been slow. And that's fine. They're talking about bringing upgrades. It looked like the floor did its job. It just didn't give us much pace.
Sure.
Great. We're bringing packages in the upcoming races. Awesome. Let's see how that works out. So, my thing is, at least there's a plan in place to progress the development of the car. Lewis, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of himself, he seems to be progressing. Yes, we're like taking, one step forward, a couple steps back some weekends, but on average, he's doing better. He's progressing, and that's to be expected. Like everybody who I don't understand the narrative that he's, it's a disaster. It's 6 races, well, 5 at the time. I'm like, I mean, I haven't watching F1 that long, but I just don't understand how, given all the context that we know about Lewis's transfer, it's not just that
Yeah.
he's switching teams because it's not like Carlos Sainz who went from different manufacturer to different manufacturer over the course of like 2 or 3 seasons. He
Yeah.
stayed with
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
team
Bit
for
of a
13 years.
mercenary. Yeah.
So I'm like, that's different from everybody else. But anyway, I digress.
Uh,
He's making progress. And it's only been a few races. My question is, and this was from Australia, is
mm,
that you heard both instances, both Brian and Ricky were having issues communicating effectively to both Lewis and Charles from Australia. Okay. Where is the progress for that aspect of the team? Because eventually the car becomes faster. Maybe it's too late in the season and it can't compete with the McLaren, but eventually it will become faster. Eventually Lewis won't be 2 tenths off of Charles in qualifying. Maybe it'll be a little bit less. But where's the progress update on effective communication with the team? And that's the biggest issue that I find. And that's the
mm.
scariest part for me because I'm like, that's the part where it falls apart. Like telling Charles you're going to swap, but you don't even let Lewis know beforehand. Like, that's a problem. That's a
I
problem.
I think to that point, I had been thinking that him and Ricky were having, or Lewis and Ricky were having a
Hmm.
great communication. It was getting better, right?
Right.
Ricky's giving him data, like it sounds like how Lewis wants to receive the data. And then I don't know if you
Right.
heard the team radio for Lewis this past race. uh, essentially he yells at Ricky because Ricky is talking to him during the braking zone.
Yeah.
He's like, "Stop talking to me when I'm in the freaking braking zone." Jeez, I was like, "Come on, dog, you got it on the big screen.
Yeah.
What are you doing?" And so to your point, it's like, has it improved? Because why are we still doing this like basic? And that's a
Right.
basic thing. That's not even like a Lewis
Yeah.
Hamilton. No driver wants you to be talking to them while they're in an intense
Yeah,
braking
they
zone.
all say
Like,
that. It's like, why are we doing this? And also too, not just Ricky and Brian. Like, there's some things in between, like the pit wall and the strategy team. Like, it's not just those two. They're the ones relaying information, but it's the whole team. So I see why they're frustrated, and I see why Lewis. It's only been 6 races. My God, it's been 6 races, and he's
yeah, it
already
felt like a lot longer, huh?
at this level with the team. But it's like, um, I was talking about it in like the group chat or whatever, and I was like, bring back Bono, give him a blank check, and everybody's like, oh, don't bring him back. Look how he was last season. I'm like, I get it, truly, I do, because that was the politics of the team, right? Like,
Yeah.
it just was politics. But I'm like, I guarantee you, if Lewis could choose right now between an engineer that he doesn't have to spend 10 more years of his career getting to know, or the one that he knows like the back of his hand, he would choose Bono every time. I'm not saying that it might or may or may not make things better at Ferrari, but I'm just saying I think the fact that he does not have the same amount of time on his
Mm.
hands
No, he does
to
not.
season a guy. Like, we either need to get rid of him or we need to figure something out and fast, because this is 2025 now. I'm fully resigned to the fact that this is a learning season for everybody.
Sure.
um what are we doing in 2025 to make sure that this is not the issue in 2026? Like, I don't want
But
to be on the podcast next year having the same conversation. That would be crazy.
hey, fair. Unless I'm doing it from the paddock, then I can
Right,
have this
right,
conversation
right.
or the paddock. Yeah, so I heard you don't like onions, but I'm at the
Right.
paddock. I'm talking to you. No, so you bring up actually one excellent point. This weekend, Lewis and Charles were very close. I mean, qualifying, they did not qualify together. Charles benefit of whatever, but obviously
Mm-hmm.
in Q3, he couldn't do much with that car, right? But throughout the sessions, looking at the sprint qualifying and just looking at like the one practice session,
Mm-hmm.
although granted, like that one practice session, they did finish like far off from each other. Okay, but whatever.
Yeah.
But I think,
Well, that's a red flag at the end. Lewis needed to
yeah,
do a soft run.
listen,
Yeah.
Oliver. Anyways, and so, but you're right. Like that gap between them is shortening up
Right.
even in 6 races time. So I think I'm taking that as a takeaway of like, okay, I can be heartened, not disheartened, heartened
Yeah.
or encouraged by that. Because you're right, Tasha. I actually
Yeah.
haven't even really fully thought about that. When it comes to Bono and his race engineer, the one thing that I'll add is I think the sign of their mutual respect, their friendship, their
Mm-hmm.
relationship is the fact that I think Lewis fundamentally understood that yes, I can take Bono with me to Ferrari, but he would essentially be starting from scratch.
Absolutely.
Even if Ferrari said, "No, we'll make you chief engineer." Okay, so you're going to displace the people who are already there and
Right.
the relationships and all of that. That would have been a terrible situation for Bono to come in. On the flip side, if they had just said, "We'll bring him in and he'll be your race engineer," then it's like,
Right.
dang, I've been a race engineer for Michael Schumacher and for Lewis Hamilton for a super long time, and all I am is still like the race. And so I think it's like a testament to like the respect. And I mean, I'm sure Torger wasn't trying to let Bono go
No,
either
that's
because
why they
that's a
promoted him.
competitive advantage. But
Yeah.
also I think that Lewis fundamentally I'd love to think that he said, I'd love to have you, but your path, your trajectory, the things that you can accomplish, you're gonna get here in Mercedes, right? Like that again is conjecture on my part, but I think that's the main reason, aside from all the politics, why Bono obviously is not with him at Ferrari.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't have to even be Bono, but I do feel like we have to figure out something.
That
I think
communication.
Ferrari cannot be afraid at this point to start, culling people. I feel like aggressively so, because I do feel like I've seen people come at Fred, and I'm like, okay, I'm not fully on board yet with the whole we need to replace him. I think give him some time, because I do
Sure.
feel like under his watch so far there has been progress, but the areas where like they need more work, I feel like they need to be a little bit more aggressive and just say, listen, I know you've been here for X amount of years or whatever, but you're just not the person right now that we need. Like, we can't be holding people's hands and, like,
Mm-hmm.
being sentimental about it. Like, you're just not the person for this role right now, because it is like, okay, you look at Leclerc. I know Brian had been at Ferrari for a while before he became Charles's race engineer the previous season,
Yeah.
but like they've had a whole full season together and they're still having these issues. Like, it
Yeah.
just feels like a fundamental kink in the chain that they are just not working aggressively enough at, and they keep throwing talented drivers at the problem, thinking like, oh, well, we're just going to throw, Sebastian Vettel in here, we're going to throw, Fernando Alonso in here, we're going to throw Lewis Hamilton in here and see how we can improve the team from the driver perspective. And even like with Lewis, they wanted him to come in. I know one of the biggest things they needed from him was his feedback and his experience at Mercedes, where it runs like, uh, they run that shit like the Navy. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, so the reason why he's so frustrated on the radio is them taking their sweet time to make a decision that shouldn't even need to be like mulled over. You're on the softer compound tire, go around. Like, that's a done deal. Just communicate it to Charles, communicate it to me, and then like let's do the thing and like call it a day. Instead, we wait so long that Lewis kills his mediums, and
Mm-hmm.
then Charles's tires light up, but he's behind Lewis for so long that by the time he gets around Lewis, the hards don't really have any effect either. It's just like, so we just killed, and over one position is
But
crazy.
listen,
And then of
that
course you have the Carlos Sainz situation at the end where we barely got through that and got that position. So it was just too much.
I I will say that whole ordeal gave me probably one of the highlights of the race. Signs 1.4 behind. Oh, you want me to let him through as well? I was
Shall I
like,
let him pass too? He was on one. I
I was
listen,
like,
I'm here for that,
hey,
Lewis.
I'm not mad at it. I was like, hey, why are you making it hot right now? Just
Yeah. Because I don't
so.
agree with Ferrari's philosophy of like everything has to be discussed internally. Like, you hear it from Fred, you
No.
hear it from Charles. Lewis is like, listen, yes, we will discuss things internally, but like I'm going to speak my mind. And I feel like it puts more pressure on the team to actually do something in a more timely manner. Like he said, why don't you just have a tea break while you're at it? Like, we don't need six more races to determine if people should be in roles that they've been in. Like, let's figure out what that, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's super easy to like change a team around, but I'm just like, what does it
Absolutely.
look like when Ferrari gets a little bit more aggressive on that end of it? Because that's really, they've improved their pit stops, they have improved the car development through the season, at least from last year. We have
Hmm.
still to be seen this year, but like that is a big improvement. They have two drivers that I think, even with Lewis learning the car, he's still a very strong driver, especially in races, as we've seen multiple times this season. Charles is a very strong driver. Like, they'll maximize the car as much as they can, and I feel like the real big glaring thing that just never really makes progress is the strategy. And this is not even a new thing to 2025. We've seen this in prior seasons, hence the clown emojis, hence the clown
Listen,
memes. Like, this is how they get down. So they have to do
and
something a bit more aggressive this year
it was real cute last year when we were clowning on Ferrari,
when we weren't there.
but now we here. Oh my land.
I was properly livid. I was just like, bro, we were already going to get seventh and eighth. Why is this so hard?
Yeah, that's a solid point.
Why is this so hard right now?
I think the last thing I'll say is that all of the drivers that you mentioned, right? Hamilton, Vettel, Alonso, you can throw
Hmm.
a Raikkonen in there. Raikkonen was the
Yeah,
last
Kimi,
winner, and it
yeah,
was because Lewis and Alonso were fighting the entire season.
right,
The most successful driver in recent history, obviously, was Schumacher. And I think, very much to your point, I think the reason he was so successful was because he brought all his people with him.
right,
He said, nope, gone, 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 gone. This is the people you need. And
right.
shock, lo and behold, the team did well, just popped off and won a bunch of championships, right? So we'll see. I think
Yeah.
final question for you: Do you feel like the trajectory is still up for Ferrari, or do you feel like they're not going to get it together till Las Vegas?
Ooh, Vegas would be crazy work.
I mean, I
I mean,
expect nothing.
so trying to just think a little bit about, I don't know. I'm trying so hard to like push down the nervous feeling of like, because this is race 6. Well, we just, now we're going into round 7.
Yes.
A big chunk of the season has passed. It does not look like McLaren is going to be making many mistakes. And I think, especially as the season progresses, I think both of them are going to be a little bit more consistent. So I really think it's going to be really difficult to even think about beating them for the constructor or even like trying to sniff their coattail for that.
Nah.
Mercedes, Red Bull, we kind of have a chance. Yuki is struggling a little bit still. So that does help that there's, just one main Red Bull to fight with. But, Yuki's not that far off either. Um, so I don't know. I just feel like in order for us to make up the gap that we have, because again, I would accept nothing less than P2 in the constructor if that's what we got last year, right? Like I do think that that's kind of crazy to like fall back to the fourth in the constructor after having the year that they had prior. So I don't know. I just feel like I'm trying really hard to stay hopeful that even though the car and everything is not really like meshing right now,
Mm-hmm.
that they're confident that they know the issue. I mean, multiple people have said it, that they know the issue. It's just dependent on the upgrades. So I'm like, cool. The thing for me, and like we just discussed, is the strategy of it all. Like again, pit stops are amazing. Drivers, great. Car development, questionable, but progressing. And again, strategy. Where are we out in strategy? Like the fact that Lewis had to be like, I want to come in for tires. Great, we'll put you on mediums. No, softs. There's only 6 laps left. Why am I going to be on mediums? Are you out of your mind?
Hey, at least they told him. At least they told him mediums.
Yeah, well, you're right because he could have been SOL, but
At least they told him mediums.
it's them making these like I mean honestly, if it comes down to it and Charles and Lewis have to be the ones calling audibles, then fine, maybe. But it's just I feel like they shouldn't have to do everybody's job and drive, and so like that's why I don't look at it any kind of way when they're popping off on the radio, because I'm just like I get it. You don't need to be over here trying to figure out what tire strategy you should be on, because the people that are employed to do this are not thinking fast
One
enough,
step ahead. Yes.
you
That the
know?
driver's job is to drive.
Yeah.
If you're the engineer and the strategist,
And
yeah.
Lewis came in and he was like, I don't want to step on people's toes. Like this is the thing I'm seeing with Lewis that I think is really interesting. We have not gotten Lewis Hamilton Fashion Week since the first race, right? And
Hey,
part part
not on Sylvia's watch. All right, that's all I got to say about.
right. And I'm mourning it to a degree, but I'm also like, this guy is finally on his dream team that he wanted to be on. He wants to be a part of the team. So he's wearing the kit. He's letting everybody do their job, right? Like he's observing. He's not trying to impose himself. He kind of mentioned that before. He's just there to like do what he was hired to do. But now that he's seeing where things are headed, I think he's now starting to, like, to your point, like interject more and feel a bit more comfortable to be like, not just you're it's not just that he's saying like, you guys are going slow. It is the sarcasm. It is the extra, like, just take your time, like, because you sometimes you gotta I don't want to say you gotta humiliate people or whatever, but sometimes you just need to be like, listen, this is ridiculous, and it's
Yeah,
it's
you
not
gotta.
funny, but it's ridiculous that I'm waiting on a decision. And so sometimes it's not enough to just be like, hey, can you hurry up? Like sometimes you do need to throw a little jokey joke in there because it's ridiculous.
Hey,
Let's all laugh at the strategy team because y'all
but
are ridiculous.
listen, what is a joke to us may not be
Right.
taken it. So,
Hey, well,
um,
do your job then. you know?
hey yo, all right, well, man, now I need a Ferrari pick me up. Listen,
Yeah, true.
true Ferrari fans, I know I'm just here for a little bit. All right, I'm gonna just be honest about that. I'm not used to it. Okay, shit was cute when we were clowning y'all, but
right.
we're here now. All right.
Culture shock is set in.
Um, oh my goodness. So we'll see. Anyways, I think we are at time now because I
yeah.
just realized, holy crap, it's really late for you, but
We've been
also
yapping.
it's
Oh,
really
I'm all
late
right.
for me. Um, yeah, the next race is Imola. We got some upgrades coming. Tasha,
Yeah.
as I wrap up, where can people find you on the internet now?
Oh,
Shouts out to the new venture you got. Talk
yeah.
about that for a little bit.
So you can listen to my show. I I have been recording my own podcast. It's called Supersoft Radio. Basically, I've just been doing post race reviews, and it'll kind of evolve. I just wanted it to be a way to like just talk about the season. Like, I am gonna be yapping anyway, so I might as well, yap in my own way. I feel like I enjoy getting all of my thoughts out. I am no longer on F1 Twitter or Twitter period. No Nazis for me. I don't
Hey,
play that. So not on Twitter anymore, but you can find me on Blue Sky. It's tasha.teamlh. Something social. It's a weird format, I gotta say. I think I'm gonna end up buying my own domain so I can like have my
just
own
do it.
domain.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it is a lot.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on YouTube, and yeah, that's it for now. I'm just like in TikTok. I've been using TikTok until obviously it gets taken away or whatever. So I'm
Again.
just, yeah. Right. So I'm not like putting too much stock in social media. I really am trying to just like um dedicate the majority of my time to doing my show, and YouTube I feel like is a really great platform to just sort of like, build a community. So yeah, I'm just trying to like pick one and stick with it for a minute and, see how it goes. But yeah, no Twitter, no Instagram. Got off of I don't F with Mark, I don't F with none of them. So
Listen,
they're
that's all
crazy.
right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the show, and
Thank
again,
you.
it's gonna be somewhere down here. I'll put it in the post.
Yeah.
All the handles. Please, please, please check out Supersoft Radio.
Yes,
Um,
please.
yeah, Tasha, thank you once again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having
Um,
me.
yeah, we'll have to keep doing this
Absolutely.
more. I promise to be more organized next time. I apologize.
It's all you listen, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm still on the
Um,
high from the Met Gala, and that's sustaining me. So I feel like
listen, hey, we'll
all night.
see.
Yeah.
This is, by the way, this is the first year that I'm actually watching the Met Gala.
Yeah? Did you enjoy it?
I I'm not sure. I don't hate it. No, listen.
I love that.
I
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I'm not. I'll be honest. I could have lied. I just be like, yeah, no.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I don't hate
Need to
it.
sleep on it? Yeah.
Yeah, I just need to let it marinate. All right. I'm a simple man. All right.
Right.
I don't know if the
Listen.
outfit looks good. I know about me
Yeah.
personally. I look at some of these. I'm like, no, that's fine. Right.
Yeah.
Others, and so yeah. Anyways, all right. As always, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having
Look
me.
forward to having you on again.
Yeah.
Um, for those who are still with us, please, 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 please leave a comment, like, subscribe, share,
Absolutely.
tell your tios, tias, abuelos, abuelas. As always, for the Monoplaza F1 podcast, that was Tasha. This is Emmy. Peace.